The uncomfortable truth. Take a look around you. Look at the people in the grocery store, the people sitting in traffic, the people scrolling mindlessly through their feeds at 2 a.m. Now ask yourself a terrifying question. How many of them are actually living? And how many are simply waiting to die? The statistics of modern life are a silent tragedy. Most people will live their entire lives in a state of quiet desperation. They will work jobs they hate to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't like. They will settle for fine. They will settle for okay. And then, one day, they will look back and realize the fire they had as a child has been replaced by the cold ashes of regret. Why? Why do most people fail? It's not for a lack of opportunity. It's not because they aren't lucky. It's because they are living by a script they didn't write. They are slaves to their impulses, victims of their emotions, and prisoners of their own comfort. We live in an age of softness. We've been lied to. We've been told that life is supposed to be easy, that we deserve happiness just for showing up, and that the world owes us a path to success. But the universe doesn't care about your feelings. The world doesn't owe you a seat at the table. Success, true, soul-deep success, is not something you find. It is something you forge through the fires of discipline and the cold steel of Stoic wisdom. 2,000 years ago, men like Marcus Aurelius, the emperor of Rome, and Epictetus, a former slave, figured out the secret that modern society has worked so hard to make you forget. Your life is failing because you have lost control of your mind. Stoicism isn't about not feeling, it's about not being a puppet. Most people are puppets. A mean comment on the internet ruins their day. A delay in traffic makes them angry. A lack of likes on a photo makes them feel worthless. They are fragile. And in a world that is inherently chaotic, the fragile are broken. If you are watching this, it's because you feel that friction. You feel that voice in the back of your head telling you that you were meant for more than this mediocre loop of consumption and distraction. You are tired of being weak. You are tired of failing. Over the next few minutes, we are going to dismantle your life. We are going to look at the harsh, cold lessons that Stoicism demands you learn. Lessons that most people are too afraid to face. We are going to talk about the addiction to comfort, the fallacy of waiting for the right time, and the brutal reality of your own mortality. This isn't a motivational video. Motivation is a scam. Motivation is a feeling that comes and goes like the wind. What we are building here is architecture, a structure of the soul that cannot be shaken by the storms of life. By the end of this journey, you will realize that your failure wasn't a mistake, it was a choice you've been making every single morning. But today, that choice ends. Today, we stop surviving and we start becoming.
The architecture of failure. Every year, millions of people set out with the same dream: to be successful, to be happy, to be remembered. They make resolutions, they buy journals, they tell their friends that this year is the one. And yet, by the time February rolls around, 80% of them have already surrendered. By the time 5 years pass, they aren't even the same people anymore. The fire has gone out. They've joined the ranks of the walking dead, the vast majority of humanity that wanders through life without a map, without a compass, and without a soul-deep purpose. Why does this happen? Why is failure the default setting for the modern human being? It's because we are living in a crisis of the spirit. We have built a world that is designed to make you fail. We live in an era of convenience that has rotted our willpower. We live in a culture of outrage that has shattered our focus. We are surrounded by more information than any generation in history, yet we have never been more lost. The truth is uncomfortable. Most people fail because they are cowards. Not cowards in the sense that they run from a physical fight, but cowards in the face of their own thoughts. They are terrified of silence. They are terrified of being alone with their own minds. They use noise, music, podcasts, TV, endless scrolling to drown out the screaming realization that they are wasting the only life they will ever have. You see, the world wants you to stay exactly where you are. A distracted person is easy to sell to. A weak person is easy to control. An emotional person is easy to manipulate. If you are failing, you are a perfect cog in the machine of modern consumerism. 2,000 years ago, a group of men saw this exact same pattern. In the heart of the Roman Empire, amidst the decadence and the chaos, they developed a system of survival. It wasn't a religion, it wasn't a set of rules, it was a philosophy of the internal fortress. They called it Stoicism. Men like Seneca, who faced the wrath of a mad emperor. Men like Epictetus, who was born into the chains of slavery and found more freedom in his mind than his masters had in their palaces. Men like Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man on earth, who spent his nights writing reminders to himself to stay humble, stay disciplined, and stay focused on what truly matters. They knew a secret that you have forgotten. Your life is not a result of your circumstances. Your life is a result of your character. Most people believe that if they just had more money, better luck, or a different upbringing, they would be successful. They blame the economy, they blame their parents, they blame their boss. This is the first and most fatal step toward failure. It is the victim mindset. And as long as you believe your problems are out there, you will never find the solution in here. Stoicism teaches us that the world is divided into two parts, what you can control and what you cannot. Most people spend 99% of their energy obsessed with the things they cannot control. They worry about the weather, the news, the opinions of strangers, and the mistakes of the past. They are like sailors trying to control the wind. It's impossible. And while they are fighting the wind, they let go of the rudder. Today, we are going to take back the rudder. This is not a video about hacks or shortcuts. There are no 5-minute solutions here. If you are looking for a quick hit of dopamine to make you feel good for an hour, leave now. Go back to the distractions. Go back to the okay life. But if you are ready to look into the mirror and see the parts of yourself that you have been neglecting, if you are ready to endure the hard life lessons that forge true strength, then stay. We have divided this journey into 6 pillars. Each one is a confrontation. Each one is a lesson that most people are too weak to hear. We will talk about the addiction to comfort, the fallacy of hope, and the brutal reality of death. You have been asleep for a long time. It's time to wake up. It's time to learn why you've been failing and how to ensure it never happens again. Lesson 1. The comfort trap. We begin with the most dangerous enemy you will ever face. It isn't a rival, it isn't a bad boss, and it isn't a struggling economy. It is a soft chair. It is a warm bed. It is a thermostat set to 72 degrees. It is the comfort trap. Stoicism teaches us that the primary reason people fail is that they have become addicted to safety. We have evolved to seek comfort because for our ancestors, comfort meant survival. If you found a warm cave and a surplus of food, you stayed there because the alternative was death. But in the 21st century, this biological drive has become a suicide pact for your potential. Musonius Rufus, the teacher of Epictetus, used to tell his students that the person who eats the most delicate food, drinks the finest wine, and sleeps on the softest pillows is not blessed, they are handicapped. Why? Because they have become a slave to their environment. The fragility of the modern soul. Most people today are fragile. If the Wi-Fi goes out, they're stressed. If their favorite coffee shop is closed, their morning is ruined. If they have to walk a mile in the rain, they feel like a victim. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." Think about that. If your life is perfectly comfortable, you are actually the most miserable person on earth because you have no idea what you are capable of. You are a sword that has never been tested in battle. You are a muscle that has never lifted a weight. You are aesthetically pleasing, perhaps, but functionally useless. Success requires the ability to endure, but you cannot endure if your entire life is designed to avoid even the slightest bit of friction. When you avoid the hard thing, whether it's a difficult conversation, a cold shower, or a grueling workout, you aren't just relaxing. You are training your subconscious that you cannot handle reality. You are teaching your subconscious that you are weak. The Stoic solution: voluntary hardship. The Stoics had a practice to combat this: voluntary hardship. They didn't wait for life to get hard, they made it hard on purpose. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, would set aside a few days every month where he would dress in rags, eat only the cheapest, coarsest bread, and sleep on the hard ground. He would ask himself, "Is this the condition I so feared?" Most people fail because they are paralyzed by the fear of losing. They fear losing their job, losing their status, or losing their luxuries. By practicing voluntary hardship, you realize that you can survive on very little, and once you realize you can survive the worst-case scenario, you become dangerous. You become free. If you aren't afraid to be broke, you can take the risk to start the business. If you aren't afraid to be alone, you can leave the toxic relationship. If you aren't afraid of discomfort, you can outwork anyone around you. The dopamine loop. We must also talk about the digital comfort trap. Most people fail because their brains are fried. We live in a world of instant gratification. You want food? It's at your door in 30 minutes. You want entertainment? It's in your pocket. You want a connection? Swipe right. This constant drip of dopamine has destroyed our ability to focus on long-term goals. Success is a long-term game. It requires months and years of boring, repetitive, difficult work with no immediate reward. But if your brain is tuned to receive a reward every 6 seconds from a scrollable feed, you will find the path to success too boring. You don't have a lack of talent, you have a lack of attention. You have allowed the architects of Silicon Valley to hijack your prefrontal cortex. You are a lab rat in a maze of your own making. The Stoic would tell you to starve the beast, practice apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense of not caring, but a state of being undisturbed by your impulses. When you feel the urge to check your phone, don't. When you feel the urge to quit your workout 5 minutes early, stay for 10. You must reclaim the throne of your own mind. The cost of choice. Every time you choose the easy path, you are voting for your own failure. Every time you hit the snooze button, you are telling yourself that your dreams aren't worth getting out of bed for. Every time you choose the salad over the burger, the book over the TV, the work over the sleep, you are building the inner fortress. Most people fail because they think life is about finding happiness. The Stoics knew better. Life is about finding virtue, which means excellence of character. Happiness is a byproduct of virtue. It is not the goal. If you chase happiness through comfort, you will end up depressed. If you chase excellence through discomfort, you will end up fulfilled. The challenge. I want you to look at your life right now. Where are you too comfortable? Where have you allowed safety to become a cage? Is it your physical body? Have you let it become soft and weak because the gym is too far or too loud? Is it your career? Are you staying in a dead-end role because the paycheck is stable? Is it your mind? Have you stopped reading and learning because it's easier to watch mindless videos? Failure is not a single event. Failure is 1,000 tiny choices to be comfortable. Success is the opposite. It is the daily repeated choice.
Lesson 2. The Slavery of Reputation. We move now to the second great wall standing between you and a life of meaning. It is perhaps the most subtle form of imprisonment in the modern world. It is the obsession with how we are perceived by others. In Stoicism, this is known as the slavery of reputation.
Marcus Aurelius, while sitting in his tent on the edges of the Roman frontier, wrote a line in his private journal that should be carved into every smartphone screen in existence. He asked himself, "I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others." Think about the insanity of that. You know your own heart. You know your own intentions. You are the only person who actually lives inside your skin. Yet you will allow the comment of a stranger, the judgment of a relative, or the likes on a digital post to determine whether you have a good day or a bad day. You have handed the keys to your happiness to people who don't even know you, and even worse, to people who don't even care about you. The mirror of vanity. Most people fail because they are building a life to be seen, not a life to be lived. We buy cars we can't afford to impress neighbors we don't like. We choose career paths that sound impressive at dinner parties, rather than paths that set our souls on fire. We remain silent when we should speak, and we speak when we should be silent, all because we are terrified of being canceled or judged. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus was born a slave. He had no physical freedom. His body belonged to another man. Yet he argued that he was freer than the wealthy Romans who obsessed over their status. Why? Because Epictetus realized that reputation is an indifferent. It is something that lies outside of your control. You can be the most virtuous, kind, and hardworking person in the world, and someone will still hate you. Someone will still lie about you. Someone will still misunderstand you. If your success is tied to being liked, you are a beggar. You are constantly holding out your hat, hoping for a coin of validation. In the moment the world stops clapping, your success vanishes. The public versus the self. Most people fail because they have a public face in a private reality, and the gap between the two is a canyon of anxiety. They pretend to be productive, pretend to be happy, pretend to be enlightened. But Stoicism demands radical integrity. The Stoics practiced a technique called cynic-like living, not in the sense of being negative, but in the sense of being shamelessly honest. They believe that if you are ashamed of doing something, don't do it. But if you believe what you are doing is right, it shouldn't matter if the whole world is watching or if no one is watching. Imagine what you could achieve if you took all the energy you currently spend worrying about what they think and redirected it into your craft, your discipline, and your character. Most people are running a race while looking over their shoulder to see who is watching. They trip because they aren't looking at the track. The exercise, contempt of reputation. To break this addiction, you must practice contempt for the opinions of the unlearned. Seneca suggested that we should look at the people whose praise we crave. Are they wise? Are they disciplined? Are they truly happy? Usually, the answer is no. Why then do you value the opinion of someone whose life you wouldn't even want to live? Stop asking, "How do I look?" Start asking, "What am I becoming?" Failure is being a king in the eyes of the world, but a coward in your own heart. Success is being a giant in your own soul, even if the world sees you as a nobody. Lesson 3. The fallacy of time. If Lesson 1 was about your body and Lesson 2 was about your ego, Lesson 3 is about the most valuable asset you possess, the only thing you can never get back: time. The third reason most people fail is that they live as if they are immortal. They treat time as if it were an infinite resource, a bottomless well they can draw from forever. They say, "I'll start that business next year. I'll fix my health when things settle down. I'll tell the people I love how I feel when the timing is right." Seneca's greatest work on the shortness of life begins with a brutal correction. It is not that we have a short space of time, but that we waste much of it. The someday disease. Most people fail because they are waiting for a perfect moment that does not exist. They are waiting for the stars to align, for the bank account to hit a certain number, or for the feeling of readiness to wash over them. The Stoics would tell you the perfect moment is a ghost. It's a hallucination used by the ego and justify procrastination. While you are waiting, life is happening. While you are planning, time is passing. Think about your life as a candle. Most people live as if the wick is miles long. They burn it carelessly. But the truth is, you have no idea how much wick is left. You could be at the very end of it right now. Memento mori, the ultimate motivator. The Stoics practiced a meditation called memento mori, remember that you must die. To the modern ear, this sounds morbid or depressing. To the Stoic, it was the ultimate liberation. When you truly internalize that you are a dying man or woman, the trivial things that cause failure start to evaporate. You don't have time to be offended by a coworker. You don't have time to be depressed by a breakup for 6 months. You don't have time to scroll for 4 hours a day. Death is not a future event. Death is happening right now. Every second that passes is a second that death has already claimed. You are dying as you watch this video. I am dying as I speak these words. Most people fail because they fear death, but they don't respect life. They're so afraid of the end that they never actually begin. The Stoic uses death as a lens. When you look at your goals through the lens of your own mortality, the hard things become easy. Is it hard to wake up at 5 a.m.? Not when you realize you have only a limited number of sunrises left to see. Is it hard to speak your truth? Not when you realize your voice will one day be silent forever. The poverty of procrastination. Procrastination is the most expensive cost in the world. It is the interest you pay on a debt of fear. Most people fail because they are preparing to live instead of living. They spend their 20s preparing for their 30s preparing for their 40s, and by their 60s they are wondering where the movie went. Stoicism demands that you live ataraxia, a state of lucid presence. Success is found in the now, not in the then. If you cannot find discipline today, you will not find it tomorrow. Tomorrow is a lie told by the weak to make themselves feel better about their laziness today. The audit of the soul. I want you to do an audit of your time. Look at the last 24 hours of your life. How much of that time was spent on virtue, on things that actually moved the needle of your soul? How much was spent on indifference, mindless consumption, gossip, or worrying? Most people fail because they are busy, but they aren't productive. They are running on a treadmill, lots of movement, zero progress. They confuse activity with achievement. The Stoic knows that a well-lived life is not measured by its length, but by its depth. A man who dies at 20 but lived with total presence and purpose has lived more than a man who dies at 90 but spent his days in a fog of distraction. To truly break this addiction, you must commit yourself to the 3 great Stoic techniques: pricing yourself correctly, controlling your perceptions, and respecting your time. Your value, your health, your wealth, everything begins with your mind. If you win the battle in your head, everything else falls into place. You must find strength in your private soul, ignore the judgments of the unlearned, and don't throw away the precious time you have left. Stop treating your life like a dress rehearsal. The curtain is already up, the play has started, and the ending is already written. The only question is, what will you do with the scenes you have left?
Lesson 4. The poison of expectation. We have been taught that hope is a virtue. We are told to expect the best and to visualize our dreams. But in the cold light of Stoic wisdom, ungrounded expectation is not a virtue. It is a poison. It is the 4th reason most people fail. They fail because they have a script for how the world should behave, and when the world refuses to follow that script, they crumble. Epictetus of Rhodes, a Stoic whose work influenced Seneca, said, "Limit your desires if you wish to be happy. Cease to hope, and you will cease to fear." To the modern ear, ceasing to hope sounds like giving up, but it is the opposite. It is the ultimate form of engagement. When you hope for something, you are admitting that your happiness depends on a future outcome that you do not control. You are making your peace of mind a hostage to fortune. The gap of suffering. Most people fail because they live in the gap between what is and what I want it to be.
They expect people to be kind and are shocked when they are met with rudeness. They expect the economy to be stable and are paralyzed when it crashes. They expect their hard work to be rewarded immediately and quit when no one notices. The Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, is the antidote. Before you start your day, you don't visualize everything going perfectly. You visualize the traffic jam. You visualize the critical email. You visualize the workout being painful. Why? Because when you expect the obstacle, it loses its power over you. You don't lose your temper, you don't lose your focus, and most importantly, you don't lose your momentum. Success is not about the absence of problems. It is about the presence of mind to handle them. Amor fati, loving your fate. The highest level of this pillar is amor fati, a love of fate. Most people tolerate their challenges. They survive their failures. The Stoic loves them. Think of your life like a fire. Most people are like a small candle. A little bit of wind, a problem, blows them out. But a great bonfire wants the wind. It takes everything thrown into it, the trash, the wood, the dead leaves, and turns it into more heat and more light. If you are failing, it is because you are fighting reality. You are arguing with the universe about how things ought to be. Stop arguing. Start using. Every failure is fuel. Every betrayal is a lesson in self-reliance. Every loss is an opportunity to practice losing with grace. Lesson 5. The chaos of emotion. The fifth reason most people fail is that they are governed by their impressions. They are reactive, not proactive. They are like a ship without a rudder, tossed about by every wave of emotion that hits them. In Stoicism, the emotions, or pathe, were seen as a temporary madness. When you are angry, you are not you. When you are overwhelmed with lust or greed or crippling fear, you have abdicated the throne of your reason. The 3-second rule. Most people make life-altering mistakes in a split second of emotional weakness. They quit the job because of one bad meeting. They ruin a relationship because of one ego-driven argument. They break their discipline because they felt like having a drink or staying in bed. Epictetus taught, "Suffer not yourself to be carried away by the intensity of the impression, but say, 'Wait for me a little, impression. Allow me to see who you are and what you are at.'" This is the secret of the world's most successful people. They have developed a buffer between the stimulus and the response. Most people have zero buffer. Stimulus, someone cuts them off in traffic. Response, rage. Stimulus, a notification on their phone. Response, distraction. The Stoic creates a space. In that space lies your freedom. If you can wait just 10 seconds before reacting to an emotion, you will find that the emotion often loses its teeth. You realize that the anger isn't you, it's just a chemical storm passing through your brain. The discipline of assent. You cannot control what thoughts pop into your head. You cannot control the first spark of an emotion, but you have total control over whether you assent to it. Just because you feel like a failure doesn't mean you are a failure. Just because you feel like giving up doesn't mean it's the right thing to do. Most people fail because they treat their feelings as facts. I feel tired, so I must need a break. I feel intimidated, so I must be out of my league. The Stoic treats feelings as data points, nothing more. They ask, does this emotion serve my virtue? Does it help me move toward my goal? If the answer is no, they acknowledge the feeling, and then they do the work anyway. Success is the ability to do what is necessary even when your emotions are screaming at you to stop. It is the cold, calculated application of logic to a chaotic world. If you can master your internal weather, the external weather will never bother you again. Section 6, Lesson 6, The Illusion of Later. We come now to the final pillar, the ultimate reason most people fail. It is a lie so comfortable, so seductive, that it has buried more dreams than poverty, war, or illness combined. It is the word later. Stoicism is, above all, a philosophy of action. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations to be published as a self-help book. He wrote them to survive the day. He wrote them because he knew that later is a landscape of ghosts. Most people believe that life is a long, winding road. They think they have time to be mediocre now so they can be great once they have more money, once the kids are grown, or once the weekend arrives. But the Stoic knows that life is not a road. It is a series of moments, and each one is a knife edge. The crime of hesitation. Epictetus used to challenge his students with a brutal question. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? When you hesitate, you are essentially saying that your current, mediocre self is good enough for today. You are accepting a version of yourself that you know is a lie. Every time you say, "I'll start tomorrow," you are murdering the person you could have been today. Failure isn't just a lack of money or status. True failure is the gap between the person you are and the person you know you could be. That gap is where all human suffering lives. The only way to close that gap is not through planning, but through doing. The Stoic doesn't wait for the mood to strike. The Stoic creates the mood through the work. If you wait until you feel like a giant to do giant things, you will stay a dwarf forever. You must act like the person you want to become long before you feel like them. The closing, the great rebirth. We have spent the last 40 minutes dismantling the reasons why most people fail. We've looked at the addiction to comfort, the slavery of reputation, the fallacy of time, the poison of expectation, and the chaos of emotion. But understanding these things is not enough. Information without transformation is just a distraction. The world is full of well-read failures. It is full of people who can quote Marcus Aurelius but still can't control their own temper. It is full of people who know they should be working harder but are still tethered to their screens. The question is no longer, why do people fail? The question is, will you continue to fail? The choice. You are standing at a crossroads. Behind you is the life of most people. It is a safe life. It is a life of moderate comfort, moderate success, and massive regret. It is a life where you are a leaf in the wind, blown about by the opinions of others and the whims of your own impulses. In front of you is the Stoic path. It is a hard path. It is rocky, it is steep, and you will often be climbing it alone. It requires you to be your own master, your own judge, and your own priest. It requires you to look at every obstacle as an opportunity and every pain as a teacher. But on that path, you will find something that most people will never know. You will find internal freedom. You will find a version of yourself that is bulletproof, unshakable, and truly alive. Go back to your life today, but don't go back as the same person. When you feel the urge to complain, silence it. When you feel the urge to procrastinate, act. When the world tries to offend you, smile. You are a Stoic. Not because you read about it, but because you live it. The Emperor Marcus Aurelius had a final reminder for himself, and I give it now to you. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Your life doesn't start tomorrow. It doesn't start when this video ends. It started the moment you realized you had a choice. Now go and live. Subscribe for more videos of Stoicism.